But at some point, the math is the math.
I think we can do a better job using that information.
It reinforces my belief that I have the best constituents. It is Clawback Live, Episode 2, Electric Boogaloo. Just kidding. Episode 2, the first episode I think went pretty well. A lot of folks seemed to like it. Originally, we were going to be doing this only after council meetings, but the last episode went so quick, we ran out of time that it felt like there was plenty to say. So here we are. We're in the week between council meetings. Last week, when we had the Clawback Live, there had been what felt like 100 council meetings. This week, just a couple of special calls. But we're going to cover a number of great topics today. I think what we will, our top topics on this episode, give you a little preview of some of the items on the council meeting for next week, a little bit of a preview of what we're learning about in our land code rewrite, and some of the stuff I learned about mental health. So the council meeting next week, it's going to be a short one. Compared to other meetings, one of the council members is going to be away. And so whenever that happens, the more difficult or controversial stuff gets moved to the following meeting. That way every council member can be present for the votes. But some of the items that I think are pretty interesting that you probably won't hear about, item number 13 on the agenda is related to family elder care. But what it really is a contract with a foundation called The Other Ones, which is a program where the city hires people experiencing homelessness to do maintenance on our public lands. This is the type of program I have often heard folks in the community ask, why doesn't the city do this? Why doesn't the city do this? Well, we do this. It's something that was started a couple of years ago, and in the last budget, we increased that funding so that we can get more folks into work to help them get out of homelessness. So that will be a good item this week. That's item 13. Item 42, a really interesting one, is a program called Youth River Watch. This is a nonprofit that works with at-risk youth and has them doing water quality testing for our lakes and rivers. So the type of work that we would normally do with regular city staff, we're actually taking that work and bringing the benefit to a wider community. That's item number 42. That's another good one. And then item 50. Item 50 is a procedural item. It's just setting the public hearing for the future, but something to be aware of. This is the Atlas 14 floodplain changes. You may have heard about this Atlas 14 thing. The federal government, in response to new data and new science, is changing the floodplains that are defined federally. What that means for us here at the local level is your property, which might be on the edge of a floodplain now, might actually be in the floodplain under this new federal definition. And that can have some impacts related to flood insurance or the ability to redevelop your property. Like I said, these are federal changes that are responding to new science. So they are very important changes that are, I think, fairly obviously related to climate change and some of the on-the-ground impacts that we're going to see there. That public hearing is set for October 17th. The item on next week's agenda just sets the public hearing, one of the kind of process things that we have to do in government. But it'd be a good thing to look at. You can go to ATX Floodwatch website and find the maps and zoom right in on your property and see where these new floodplains are going to go. Other big topics that are on the list, the land code rewrite. We've had a number of work sessions with staff, Friday most recently, where we have been learning about what the new code is going to contain. Last week we heard about, or on Friday, we heard about the improved environmental regulations. We're going to do, the new land code will do a better job addressing flood risk. So as new properties develop or as existing properties redevelop, they're going to have to do a better job capturing water on site and cleaning the water before it leaves their site. A lot of work to be done there. You'll probably hear about some proposed amendments to the Save Our Springs ordinance. Seemed like the council wasn't ready to move forward on those quite yet. We're going to want to do a lot more public conversation when it comes to the Save Our Springs ordinance, but those items will be coming in the future. But be ready, the new land code, the draft of the land code, is going to drop next week. what you will find is a lot of information written before the land code came out claiming to know what was in the land code. When a city addresses land development, any city in America, it is the most difficult and politically divisive decision a city can make. Rewriting an entire land code really takes that to another level. So you got to keep your head on a swivel. Don't just listen to every little thing that pops up in your news feed. Do your research. Reach out to your council members. There's going to be quite a bit of information that is going to apply maybe in one property in one part of town, and people will say, oh, every property is going to have this change applied to it. It's going to be much more straightforward than folks who are going to be kind of ginning up their rhetoric are going to want you to believe. There'll be a lot more information coming out on the land code reform, but the big drop of the map and the text comes out in October. It's actually a very exciting thing because this is one of the steps we are taking to address housing affordability and even part of homelessness. You know, if there were more homes and they were more affordable, less people would become homeless. It kind of seems pretty straightforward, but a lot of folks miss that key detail. So the land code will come out. The draft of that comes out next week. We'll be talking a lot more about that in the future. The final thing on our list here, mental health. You know, when we talk about homelessness, when we talk about other types of issues, you know, one of the things that I hear from the public, you know, oh, it's a mental health problem. What are you doing about mental health? You know, oh, nobody's doing anything about mental health. Turns out there's quite a bit of stuff happening about mental health. I did a tour with Integral Care, and they drove me around to a number of the properties that are on the east side. There are a number of facilities that address mental health at all stages of the process. And as we went around to these facilities, a couple of things that I learned. One, a lot of these services exist, but they exist for folks in the most indigent condition, the folks at the lowest end of the income scale. The gap kind of is for the rest of us. Insurance, private insurance often does not do a good job covering mental health issues. That's where the gap is. So you may find that you're going out and looking for counseling for yourself or for your kids, and your insurance isn't covering it, or you can't find a counselor. That's true. And the insurance industry and the state and the federal government need to address that. But at the very low end of the scale, there are a lot of resources out there. And when I was on the tour talking to Integral Care about it, I kept asking, how many beds do you have for this type? Oh, we have 20 beds in this type and 50 beds in this type and 100 beds in this type. Well, how many beds do you need? And it was like, oh, we need maybe 50 beds or 100 beds or 200 beds. It wasn't 4,000 beds. It wasn't 10,000 beds. So we really have done a good job in the community building some of these core services, testing the models, seeing their effectiveness. Now we have an opportunity, as the council is committed, and I believe other elected officials are committed, to scale this up to meet the need of our incredibly fast-growing community. So good on you, Integral Care, for all your great services. We're going to keep working on that, but I want to make sure the public knew that mental health is not being ignored. We are just finding that there are some gaps in the healthcare system. And if you find yourself in that gap, you might think that it's not helping anyone. It turns out it's obviously a lot more complicated than that. Those are our big topics for the week. I think if I press this button, they'll go away. Look at that. There they go. Our segment this week, let's see if my new titles come in. Here we go. Election update, y'all. There is an election coming up. We talked about this a little bit last week. There is an election coming on November 5th. This is that off-cycle November. It's state constitutional amendments. It's city propositions. It's county propositions, bond propositions. If you're on the Williamson County side, you've got 2 bond props. If you're on the Travis County side, you've got 1 proposition. Of course, all of the city folks get to do a number of things. But what I wanted to talk about today quickly is just the dates that are coming up. Here's the voter's guide that I put together. I know it's hard to see on the video. You can kind of see it a little bit. You can find this on my website, jimmyflannigan.com/2019-guide, jimmyflannigan.com. And you will find voters guides for Travis County and Williamson County that'll give you my perspective on these items, which was, if you're on the Travis County side, it's pretty simple. Vote no. Vote no on A and B. Vote no on A and B. If you're on the Williamson County side, a little more complicated. The Williamson County folks have 2 bond propositions, road and drainage bond and a parks bond. They're pretty good. You can vote yes on those. And then the city ones, you got to vote no on. They're all called A and B, though. So it's a little complicated. Yes on the Wilco A and B, no on the city A and B, no on the city A and B. We'll talk more about the details on that in future episodes. The last thing about the election, let me see if I can get this thing to load. Today we did our very first, for this year, voter pep rally at McNeil High School. We did these last year at McNeil and Westwood. They were really fun and great in educating the kids about what it means to be a voter, how to be registered, all that really great nonpartisan information to make sure the kids are prepared to go into the ballot box. This year, we even had the Drumline and the Majestics, the Palm Squad, joining us for the pep rally. They really raised the bar on Westwood. We'll be at Westwood next week. Hopefully, they will also bring Drumline and a pep squad. Thanks to Principal Johnson and the League of Women Voters, School Board member Amy Weir, County Commissioner Terry Cook, and State Representative James Tallarico for joining us at the pep rally at McNeil. James Tallarico, an actual graduate of McNeil High School, so that was quite a bit of fun. So I think we're at the end. These shows go by so quickly. Just as a reminder, the voting for Best of Austin still open. AustinChronicle.com. Go and vote for your favorite District 6 council member for Best City Official. You can make sure you get that done. Be sure to like and share the videos. We have these posted on YouTube. Please go onto YouTube and subscribe. The way YouTube works, you need to meet a certain number of subscribers before you can really start to go bigger, so we need your help on that. I think we can go over to our credits now. Are the credits rolling? Are the credits rolling? Are they rolling? There they go. All right, credits are rolling. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Judy Maggio for your graciousness in allowing that clip to happen in our intro. You're one of the best you got out there, Judy. Thank you so much. Be sure to like and share. Share the video right now. Make sure everybody sees it. And we will see you on the Clawback next week.